People don't believe I had a brother. Part 1. When people ask now if I'm an only child, I lie and tell them yes. Growing up, of course, I told them the truth. I have a brother named Mark. He's 6 years younger than me and my best friend. That was true then, and it's still true now. The difference is the world won't believe me anymore. There was a time when I tried to convince people, raise a stink about it, convince people I wasn't crazy. That landed me in 72-hour observation, and that almost cost me my life. So now I just lie. It's easier and safer. I've even taken to lying to myself. People can convince themselves of most anything, after all, and I have this feeling that me talking about it, even thinking about it, might help them find me again, maybe for the last time. This account will, if everything goes as planned, be the last time I will have to deeply think or talk about this ever again. I have no illusions that I'll ever believe the world is safe or sane again. How could I? But at least I might be able to float along the surface, a small leaf not making waves, trying desperately to not be noticed and pulled underneath. // I should probably start with our lives growing up. They weren't anything remarkable. Our father worked for a security company, our mother was a psychiatrist. We lived in a nicer than average neighborhood and probably lived nicer than average lives. Our parents were good at most things. They were good at their jobs, they were good neighbors, good friends. And they were really good parents too. That's really important for me to get across. They weren't perfect, and they were a little strict, but not in a mean or shitty way. Mark and I loved and respected them, and we knew they felt the same way about us. When I moved away for college, I legit missed home, and not just because of Mark or my other friends. Mom and Dad were my friends too, and most weeks I'd call them for a few minutes if I didn't manage to make a trip back to see them all. Mark was the same way. I was already working a job I hated by the time he was a freshman, and I couldn't help but laugh when we were talking on the phone one night, and I could tell he was homesick. I wanted to make fun, but didn't quite dare. It was too hypocritical, even if I was missing a chance to rag on him. Because I was that different than him even then. I looked forward to holidays and weekends we could all get together, especially as time and life in general made those times fewer and farther between. By the time I was 28 and Mark was graduating college, I only got to see them all a few times a year. Mark was still going more regularly, and there was a part of me that was jealous of how close he'd stayed with them, even though I knew it would probably change for him over time just like it had for me. They'd always invite me to stuff, of course, and they'd tell me funny stories about it, but they understood that I was far away and busy with work and day-to-day life. I'd already been planning on making a trip out to see them the next month when Mark called me one morning. That was already weird. Mark never called that early unless something was wrong. I knew he'd gone home that past weekend, so I wondered if something had happened or was wrong with Mom or Dad. Keeping my tone even, I answered the call. "Hey, Dummel, what's up?" A pause and then, "Yeah, hey, nothing too much. I have a final this afternoon, so I thought I'd do some laundry and call you." I snorted, faking cheer though my chest still felt tight. "Surprised your lazy ass is up this early. It's like before 10, dude." I let it hang there for a moment, and when he didn't respond, I pushed on. "Is everything okay?" I heard him let out a long breath on the other side, like he'd developed a slow leak. I don't know, man. I've been debating calling you since I got back in the car and started driving back to school on Saturday. Mom and Dad's something isn't right with them. I felt myself frowning as I gripped the phone a bit tighter. Like what? Are they sick or something? No, I mean, I don't think so. When he fell silent again, I prodded further. Are they fighting, acting senile? Like what's the deal? You're freaking me out and not giving me much to work with. Shit. Yeah, you're right, I'm sorry. I don't know how to put it into words and not sound dumb or crazy. That's part of why I haven't called before now. I swallowed. Okay. I promise to not prejudge anything you say until I hear everything, okay? And I promise to not give you any shit. Yeah, okay. Well, it started when I got there. Like I didn't get in until after midnight, and I figured Mom would still be up, but usually Dad would be in bed already. This time they were both up and waiting. That was unusual, but so what, right? But from the moment I walked in, things were off. They were still nice enough. They said they'd missed me, they asked about school, that kind of thing, but none of it seemed genuine. It was like all the nice stuff and politeness and being friendly were just fake. Kind of like, have you ever walked on thick carpet when it's really cold? In your bare feet? I blinked. Yeah, I guess. Why? It's like that. Like when you walk on that carpet, you can feel the carpet sure, but you can also feel the colder floor underneath. It was like that. They felt cold underneath their questions and their smiles, like strangers. Shit mark, I don't know. Maybe they have been fighting and just didn't want you to know, so they faked being happy and that's what you picked up on. Yeah, maybe, but it wasn't just that. After I talked to them for a bit, I went to my room to go to bed. At that point, I'd thought they were acting weird, but I wasn't actively freaked out or anything. And I was really tired, so at first I fell right asleep. But a couple of hours later, I just woke up suddenly. I don't know if it was a dream or what, but when I woke up, I realized the house smelled different. Like it had smelled that way since I got there, but I hadn't really registered it with everything else being weird until just then, sitting up in my bed. I could feel my heart beating faster, though I wasn't sure why. What did it smell like? I don't know. It was like a spicy smell. It didn't really burn my nose, but it felt like it was twisting its way up into my brain or something. It wasn't a good smell, or a normal smell. Okay, did you ever ask? I'm not done with that yet. So I wake up, and I'm looking around even though it's super dark, and I'm smelling this weird smell, and I'm afraid. Actually afraid like I'm a little kid. I don't know why or how, but some part of me is yelling like it senses danger. Instead of getting out of bed or reaching over and turning on a light, I just get quiet and still. Very, very still. I may have even held my breath for a minute. I don't know why I reacted like that, but I did. And that's when I heard it. My palm felt sweaty against the back of my phone. Heard what? The sound of my door, like the latch. It was clicking. Someone was outside my door, had opened my door. Maybe that's what woke me up, I don't know. But they waited there, not moving or saying anything, until they thought I was asleep again. And then they closed it back. It was probably one of them coming in to say something, and then realizing you were asleep and not wanting to bother you. His voice was trembling a little when he spoke next. Jake, I started getting in the habit in college, and I'm still in the habit now. I didn't even think about it until the next morning, but I always lock my door now. And I remember locking it that night. It was out of habit mostly, but I remember locking it. Do you fucking think Mom and Dad would do that? I held my breath a moment as I tried to think of some excuse or explanation. No, you're right. But what, do you think someone else was in there? Like a burglar or something? I don't know, but I don't think so. I didn't leave my room the next morning until 11, and they were both out in the living room waiting for me. Trying to act like they should, but not quite pulling it off. I hung out for an hour and then faked getting a call. A friend had an emergency and I had to go ahead and leave. So you really left on Saturday? Yep. You never leave until Sunday late. A shaky laugh and then, nope. Fuck, okay. So have you talked to them since then? Just a text to let them know I got back okay. I got a short response, but that's it, and I haven't pushed it. I don't really want to talk to them, at least not until after I talk to you. Yeah, okay. Well, fuck, I don't know. Do you think I should talk to them? The fear in his voice was high and crackling when he responded. No. I don't want to tip them off that I noticed anything. Not yet, at least. I was hoping you could go back there with me, see if you see what I see. Tell me if I'm being crazy. I'm planning on going there in a few weeks, so... No, not that far off. I think it needs to happen soon. I don't want them to notice I'm not coming as much, and I'm not comfortable going until this is figured out, whatever the answer is. Plus, there's something else. I was about to remind him that I didn't have as flexible a schedule as him, and that I couldn't just drop everything for something so minor as he thought our parents were acting weird. But the tone of his voice caught the words in my throat. What's the other thing? I think they want you to come. They always talk about you and want you to come more, but just like everything else, it was different this time. They kept bringing it up, about how you should come soon. We should both come and stay for a few days together. It didn't strike me as much at the time, but I think they meant it. I had the sudden thought that one of them was sick, cancer or something, and it was making them both weird. That they wanted us together to tell it all at once. I tried to keep my voice even. Yeah, sure. Let's go this weekend. / I ran late, so I expected Mark to already be inside when I got to our parents' house. But when I texted him that I was only about 10 minutes out, he was quick to respond. Okay, I'm waiting outside in my car. I felt something grow heavy in my stomach. Seriously, what was this? He hadn't said he just got there too, just that he was waiting outside. And why wait at all if you're already there? A small voice whispered in the back of my head, because he's scared of them. Clenching my teeth, I sped up a little. When I pulled into the driveway, my headlights cut across the house and parking pad, flashing on Mark's face staring out at me from inside his car. Pushing away the voice, I parked and got out, meeting him in the space between our cars and giving him a quick hug. Hey man, so you really waited until I got here, huh? I tried to leave it at that, but couldn't quite do it. How long have you been out here? He looked pale and tired, dark circles under eyes that darted toward the house before lighting back on me. Like a couple of hours. I was worried they'd come out, but they haven't. I frowned. Are you sure they're even home? Mark glanced at the house again, licking his lips nervously. They're in there. I've seen them moving around. Well, shadows moving. I nodded, reaching out to give his shoulder a pat. Well, let's go in and see how they are, right? Like we talked about, I'm not going to call them out on anything, just watch and listen. Then me and you will talk about it. Sound good? He nodded slightly. Yeah, I guess so. I didn't hesitate and headed toward the front door. I could have grabbed my bag from the trunk, but the thought didn't even occur to me. I wanted to get this over with, see that everything was okay and that he was overreacting. That they weren't sick or crazy or, well, anything. Just our friends and parents, same as they'd always been. When the door opened, I felt something twist inside me. Mom and Dad were both standing there, smiling and laughing, watching us expectantly while ushering us through the door. It wasn't just that I'd never seen them open the door together other than maybe at Halloween when they both dressed up for trick-or-treaters. It wasn't any one thing, it was everything. The way they moved, the look in their eyes. And Mark was right, there was some undersmell throughout the house that hadn't been there before. It was faint, but there, spicy and a little sour at the same time, corkscrewing through the more familiar smells of home like a thin twist of barbed wire. Making small talk as we all went into the living room, I could barely hear what we were saying for the thudding of my heart in my ears. I looked between them, terrified that they could somehow hear the thunder inside me. But no, their eyes roved between me and Mark as they asked about work and anyone we were dating and what was wrong with them. Their eyes were dead as an anglerfish, flashing this way and that, conveying nothing real except for some kind of terrible patience. I had to be wrong, these were our parents, for fuck's sake, and even if something was wrong, we needed to… Steven, did you hear me? This was Dad, looking expectantly at me. Sorry, what was that? He nodded and smiled. No, I guess you're probably beat after that drive. Was just asking if you'd help us out in the basement in the morning. We've been clearing things out down there. Your mother has the idea to renovate and reclaim, as she puts it. Need the two of you to help finish it out tomorrow. I blinked and then returned his nod. Yeah, sure, that'd be fine. Standing up, I fought the urge to run. Somehow that sudden instinct scared me more than anything else so far. It wasn't fanciful or fueled by an overactive imagination. It was a base instinct that said there was danger here and I needed to escape. Instead, I swallowed as I wiped my hands on my jeans and forced laughter I didn't feel. I think you're right, Dad. I'm pretty beat. Mark, mind helping me get my stuff out of the car? I forgot to bring anything in with me. Mark sprang to his feet, nodding. I could tell he was as freaked out as I was, which made me worried they'd notice something soon if they hadn't already. We needed to talk outside and get our shit together before being around them again. Sure, man. He gave them a nervous glance. We'll be right back. We were halfway to my car when I dared to speak in a low voice. You're right. Something's really wrong. I saw Mark tense in front of me, but to his credit, he kept walking and didn't turn around. I know. I was worried and also hoping that it would be normal this time, but it's not. He stopped at my car's trunk and glanced back at me. What do we do? I met his eyes for a moment and unlocked the trunk. I'm going to stay and try to figure out what this is. I think you should go back. I can call you when I've had more time with them. He grabbed my arm, and when I turned to him, his face was set in a deep frown. You're scared, aren't you? That's why you don't want me to stay? I wanted to lie to him, but looking at him, I could tell there was no point. A little, yeah, I don't know why. Probably it's nothing. But maybe they've gone crazy or something. It sounds dumb, but that doesn't mean it isn't possible. People, even couples, do go crazy and hurt people sometimes. And well, it's not going to be anything like that. It may just be our imaginations still, though I don't think it's that either. But whatever it is, I don't trust it. We have to figure it out and help them, but that doesn't mean we both need to be here. He was already shaking his head. No, fuck that. They're my parents too, and I'm not leaving you alone with them. Not when things are like this. We both go or we both stay and watch each other's backs. I stared at him for a moment, again fighting the urge to leave. Okay, we stay then. Lock our doors and block them too. And then we'll see what things look like in the morning. Handing him my laptop bag, I held on to it a moment, meeting his eyes. You okay with that? He nodded. Yeah, it'll be fine. They're our parents, right?